I guess we're going to talk about the one big news that came out, or rather,
Yeah.
a slew of news from one big publisher. So maybe you
Mhm.
want to take us off, Lewis?
Well, yep. Obviously, last week we saw Nintendo Direct's March 2025 Direct. Sorry, Nintendo's 2025 March Direct. Yeah, and that obviously had a bunch of games that were announced. But I feel like the biggest announcement from that one was the date for the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct, which happened just a couple of days ago. And man, yeah, we learned a lot. I think everyone's kind of just been holding tight. Everyone in the industry has just kind of been like on the edge of their seat, kind of just waiting for this announcement to happen. In terms of like what games are going to be out straight off the bat and what the price is going to be. Surprisingly, during the actual direct itself, they didn't announce any of the prices, which I was a bit surprised about. They actually waited until a couple hours after for everyone to find out pretty much when the website went up, which just I was like, okay. But yeah, other than that, they kind of reiterated on a lot of things that we already knew. For example, like the basic features of just like, oh, okay, it's bigger, it's better, it's more powerful, new Joy-Cons, magnetic Joy-Cons and whatnot. I think they did have a massive focus on the brand new C buttons, which is essentially just of the game chat buttons. So they have Nintendo has its own Discord now, in a sense.
Arguably worse, by the way.
Yeah, arguably worse. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not sure if you saw, but like, yeah, just the audio sounded okay, but I think it was just more the way the cameras looked. For example, they looked like they were playing at like 10 frames per second. Which, yeah, so that's a separate thing that you have to buy from Nintendo, which is the Nintendo camera, which retails for about $50. So
US, by the way, US.
Yeah, US, yeah, US.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's just gonna be okay, right? It's gonna be something that I don't think anyone's gonna buy. I think if they do, they'll buy it for a few games, but I doubt it will be something that people want to use consistently. I feel like the voice chat thing, yeah, sure. But yeah, they also, they've got new Pro controller as well with like back buttons, which is great. That retails for $80 US. They were also announced like what do you call it? Obviously they've also announced the upgrades as well. So what makes it better? It's 7.9 inches now with an LCD screen. With a resolution of 1080p, and it runs at like 120 FPS. If docked,
4K, if I remember.
Yeah, if docked. So if it's docked, then it will run at 4K at 60 FPS for most games if it's compatible. It also has HDR as well, so it's gonna look pristine. Storage as well is getting a massive bump. It's like 256 gigs now, which is great with how big games are getting nowadays. The original 32 on the Switch was just nowhere near enough.
You had to rotate games. You had to rotate.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then yeah, now it has two USB-C ports as well, which is great. One on top and one below. So now you can actually charge it properly when it's in kickstand mode. And yeah, the kickstand as well is also better, and the Joy-Cons as well are finally magnetic, and hopefully we won't run into a lot of the same issues that the original Switch did. For example, like, yeah, just the Joy-Cons being just shit,
yeah.
and the dock
and replaceable and stuff.
Yeah.
And you can use it as a mouse now, come to think of it.
Yeah, that's another feature that completely skipped my mind. You can use it as a mouse, which there's a game that actually looks really, really fun. I believe it's called Drag Drive, where it's Rocket League. Yeah, it's like kind of like robots, it's Rocket League except you're robots in wheelchairs, and instead of playing football, you're playing basketball. So that looks pretty fun. That fully utilizes the mouse movement as well, of both Joy-Cons. So it's like, so you have to kind of just like push it as if you're like spinning wheels in a wheelchair, which I think is going to be pretty fun to watch. I feel like I can imagine a lot of streamers going to be playing that. That looks fun. And then the game share fiasco, which is something that I feel like a lot of people are just a bit like, okay, it feels kind of, it's kind of like, hey, we're gonna let you share games, but we're gonna give you a bunch of restrictions to kind of fuck you over on it as well.
Yeah,
I'm just like, okay.
Again, like a worse version of Steam Share, right? If I recall.
Yeah, exactly.
That's basically Nintendo for you. They act like, they are set in their own ways that they don't want to hire other people to do their own apps and whatnot. They do it themselves. Hence, game chat and the game share. Again, other companies have done this better and ahead of time, by the way. But they are living in their own world. But what we can't deny about Nintendo is their library of games. Maybe you like to talk about that? I guess we can go back and forth, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they announced a lot of games. It was like 29 titles, was it? Is that right? 29, if I'm not mistaken?
23 titles for launch, but the actual count is definitely higher.
Yeah, okay, yeah, because there's games that were announced for launch, and then those games that are going to be released on Switch too. So yeah, I mean, if I can just find the list over here. I mean, the first one, Mario Kart World, that looks great. It's that one's gonna be a lot different. Compared to your box standard Mario Kart, it's kind of you have to kind of drive to the next track. It's almost like it's making different. It's almost like they're making it into kind of like an open world karting game.
Sounds like an Xbox title we know, huh?
Yeah.
Look, I know I do give a shit about Nintendo for a lot of things, but to see Mario driving around on an open world a la Forza Horizon, yeah, sure, why not? I mean, but with Mario, that's enough of a selling point to make it exclusive.
Yeah.
Why the hell not? They also have the courses and all that. You've got the Grand Prix. You've got like.
Yeah.
Did they mention battle mode? I didn't miss something.
It was they've got a knockout tour mode now.
Okay, right.
That's a brand new feature where it's almost like. I think when I first heard it being described, it sounded like it's a battle royale. So it's a non-stop course. You race from one point of the world, one end of the world to the other end of the world, with kind of checkpoints split in between, with them kind of getting sectioned out into their own individual races. But it's non-stop, so it's seamless. And whoever's last in each checkpoint gets knocked out of the race. So it's kind of like a karting battle royale in a sense.
Okay. I was also referring to the mode where basically all the kart players have to fight each other using weapons. Because
I don't recall them. I don't recall seeing that section actually.
Maybe you might see it later, but otherwise, I hope they don't exclude it because that's also another fun Mario Kart mini game that people love. Like apart from the racing, there's also like the battle mode where you fight each other literally using the weapons that you get from the course. So that's really fun.
This is also the biggest Mario Kart in terms of players as well. So I believe now it's 24 person race, which I think before it's been a while since I played a Mario Kart, so I'm actually not too familiar with what the original size was. Do you know?
I think it was 16 or so.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
It's been a while since I played Mario Kart 8.
Yeah,
but
same.
Lewis, I got a question for you. What else is big about Mario Kart World?
I'm trying to think. You're leaning towards something, and I know it, but I can't put my finger on it.
Tell me how much is Mario Kart 8? Mario Kart World.
Give me a second. I actually don't have that pulled up.
Okay, I'll answer it for you. $80 US digital.
Damn.
Yes, $80 US digital.
Damn.
That's not the only thing big about the game. It's also the price tag. I think this is actually this might be a bit of a tangent. Apologies, viewers. But this is more or less like the thing that every video game company is waiting for. Waiting for Nintendo to price their launch title for their new console. And the price of the console, which I believe you mentioned it was $449 US.
I didn't mention that, we were getting to that, but yeah, it's $449 US, yeah. And
$499 for the ultimate bundle with Mario Kart World. So the game itself is $80 US, and that is basically the barrier that every company is waiting for, so that they can go nuts with the price tags for the new games. So if Nintendo does it, everyone's going to follow suit. And that's what's going to happen. And this is going to lead into that previous talk where we mentioned how much Grand Theft Auto 6 will be. It is 100% going to be US 100 after this. Definitely. I'm not counting with tariffs, by the way, and whatnot, or import tax and whatnot. This is MSRP. This is like base price.
Yeah.
So, what are your thoughts about a Mario Kart game costing $80 US? I mean, to be fair, other titles like the Donkey Kong Bonanza, they cost around 60, 70 or so. So it's like all over the place, which is good. But to have your Mario Kart game costing that much, how do you feel about that?
It's it's so expensive, man. It's so much. Like, I still remember back when I used to play games on the 360, back when we used to actually have to buy games in person physically, and it was like, I remember being in the UK at the time, and like games costing like 20 to 30 pounds. It's like now it's like $80. Like you convert that to ringgit, you're looking at like close to like more than 400 ringgit, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, it's like that's crazy, man. It's and especially it doesn't help as well for us Malaysians because we don't have a designated Nintendo Online eShop either, do we?
No,
we have to use the Singapore one.
So no. You have to use the Hong Kong one.
Oh, we have to use. Okay.
Account for that. Yeah.
Okay.
And for my side, I do use the US account, so yeah, it does sting.
Yeah, so it's just like that. It just doesn't go our way, does it, as Malaysians, really? But in general, I think the prices of video games going up is going to be a topic of discussion until GTA 6 comes out, and it's going to be, it's going to be something that I feel like a lot of people are dreading for it to become the norm, where games are going to be costing, like God forbid, $80 like consistently for AAA titles and whatnot. Yeah. But yeah, I guess moving on though, there was a bunch of other games that were announced as well. I think they are obviously bringing. I think one point of discussion that I feel like was kind of brought up in the chat while it was happening was when these announcements were happening, it became very apparent there were no real new games being announced at the start of the game announcements. At least they waited till the very end to start announcing some titles for the Nintendo Switch 2 exclusively. But it's they're remastering both Zelda games, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. So hopefully those.
Better. Thankfully. Yeah.
Thank God. If it wouldn't, that would just be a massive clusterfuck for Nintendo, because it ran like potatoes on, at least for Tears of the Kingdom was still okay, right? It was Breath of the Wild that was a bit struggled a bit
Tears
first.
of the Kingdom struggled because you had
still struggled, okay.
Yeah, the Ultra Hand where you get to carry items and put them all together. Really slowed down the system.
Okay.
Oh, and there are also segments where you had to fight moblins in a turf war kind of situation, where basically there's so many units on the characters on the screen, it becomes like a 5 frames per second slideshow.
Right.
So this change is welcome, thankfully.
Yeah.
In fact, I actually stopped playing Tears of the Kingdom halfway on my Switch because it ran like garbage. So
yeah, I guess if it doesn't.
I'm finally going to finish Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah.
Finally, yes, on the Switch too. Probably end of the year.
Yeah, there's nothing more kind of like off-putting than your device not being able to run the game that you bought. It's just
running it in the proper frame rate legally, by the way.
Yeah.
Because we know how people are getting high frames per rate of Tears of the Kingdom, and I'm not gonna stay here. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
We might
but
get
yeah. But yeah, I guess moving on. Yeah, I mean, there's so many other games. Like, is there any games you want to bring up that are getting announced?
I guess we can just talk about the ones we like, or the ones I would like. Donkey Kong Bonanza. I've been waiting for a not 2D open world Donkey Kong game for a long while, so hopefully this sates my curiosity and whatnot. I saw the gameplay in the Nintendo 3 Direct live. That looked pretty good. Looking forward to it, and it's only coming out a month later. We'll get to the release dates and whatnot in Asia later on, but let's just talk about the good. So I wouldn't mind playing Kunitsugami on the go. So that's coming out on the Nintendo Switch too.
Yeah.
I think it's a launch title. Deltarune Chapter 1, 2, 3, and 4. 3 and 4 are the new ones, new editions. And let's see, there was another game I saw. I think that's about it. Probably just Mario Kart World. And for games coming out in the next few months, I guess we've got Kirby Air Riders, which is a sequel to Kirby Air Rider, singular. Masahiro Sakurai is coming back from Smash Brothers and the hiatus to direct this game. So it's going to be a racing game with Kirby characters. It's pretty cool. I played the first one. It's really cool.
Okay.
You mentioned Drag X Drive. We have, of course, Donkey Kong Bonanza. There was actually a From Software game they announced called The Dusk Bloods, which is a multiplayer action RPG title that looks like it's tailored in the Bloodborne universe.
Yeah, when I was reading the chat when that was getting announced, everyone's spamming Bloodborne 2, Bloodborne 2, Bloodborne 2, Bloodborne 2, and I'm like, I don't think it is, but I understand why everyone's thinking that. It's just like it was just
waiting for Bloodborne 2, which is understandable.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I feel like it needs to get ported first, at least, man. Like
higher frames per second, yes.
Yeah.
We need a remaster of Bloodborne.
Yeah, but yeah, that does look interesting. That looks fun as well, and that's gonna be, looks like it's probably just gonna take over the world, like every FromSoft game does, like for a time,
I'm also waiting for Metroid Prime 4, but I said that before, so
yeah. A surprising announcement for me was Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 plus 4 is gonna be out on it in summer 2025. That was just bizarre for me. I've never really. When I think of a Tony Hawk game, I don't think of a Nintendo for some reason. So just to see that Tony Hawk's coming back and it's coming back on the new Switch, great. That looks that's an awesome idea that you can bring it on the go.
Probably will need to put Mario in as a skater or something,
yeah, definitely
special customized outfits.
Yeah. Street Fighter 2 as well.
That's like
two. Sorry. Yeah. I was reading it as a 2D fighter. But yeah, Street Fighter 6. Gonna be out on that. That's great. You can bring Street Fighter on the go. Split Fiction as well is gonna be on the go. That's gonna be fun, especially for say you bring your Switch on an airplane with your siblings or your partner or whatever.
Or just ask a stranger next to you.
Or just you wanna play a game? Yeah.
I mean, we're on this 8-hour flight to Japan. You might as well
yeah, right.
You could finish the game halfway, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. There's Cyberpunk 2077 Ultimate Edition. With along with the Phantom, that has the Phantom Liberty expansion. That's gonna be pretty fun to play on the go. I would definitely play that on the go. Especially now, given that it's an actual working game now. And then like Hogwarts Legacy, I'm a big fan of that. Even though it's a controversial IP, it's still, in my opinion, it's a decent game. It's a decent single player game. So
yeah, it's still one of the more fun Harry Potter games that people have played
definitely.
for a while.
Yeah.
Politics
but yeah, Shadow Labyrinth as well. That's coming out on the 18th of July.
That's the Pac-Man game, right?
Yeah, that's the Pac-Man game. And a surprising one that I'm surprised about is Wild Hearts. So that's
the Monster Hunter clone you reviewed.
Yeah, so that's an EA original that I reviewed. What was it? End of 2023? Probably something like that. And that's it's a good game. It's a solid game. It was just it didn't do anything out of the ordinary to stand out from Monster Hunter really, and there was very little promotion for it. So in my head, it was an IP that kind of just faded into the background, that kind of just was waiting to fizzle out. And yet it's coming out on Nintendo, which is on the new Nintendo Switch 2, which is I'm just finding surprising. And the fact that it's it will be as of right now the only Monster Hunter-esque game that will be out on the Switch 2 relatively soon after launch.
The only Monster Hunter clone that's on the Switch 2.
Exactly. That's the keyword there.
Capcom basically gets its act together, sort out their porting and all that. Maybe get it on the Switch 2. Monster Hunter Wilds on the Switch. Who knows?
Yeah. Hopefully. And then obviously Elden Ring's obviously coming out. Is expected to come out later this year. Hades 2, Hollow Knight Silksong, Star Wars Outlaws, and Hyrule Warriors was another one that I feel like caught a lot of people off guard.
Of Imprisonment.
Yeah.
Runs pretty good too, thankfully. If you played Age of Calamity on the Switch, you know how terribly that game runs. So good to see it moving smoothly and all that. And of course, all of this will be coming out in the US. I mean, the launch titles, that is, and the Switch too. That is coming out when again? In the US?
The launch date?
Yeah. June,
5th June.
5th June, alright.
Yeah.
Now, we're gonna have to add that. Where's Asia in all this? Where's Southeast Asia?
Yeah.
Glad you asked. Because that is... the Nintendo Switch 2 is coming out in Southeast Asia from July up to September. No actual dates have been announced yet, but it's between that time frame, between July to September. And the 4 countries that are going to be launching at are Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand, and the Philippines. So once we put that news up during that time when Nintendo Switch 2 was announced, I think it was probably midnight or close to midnight. So a lot of people have been complaining because especially Indonesia They have mentioned that why isn't it coming out in Indonesia, which is arguably the biggest gaming capital in Southeast Asia because of its mobile scene and whatnot. So we actually did a little feature asking who is actually why is that so. We asked a bunch of Indonesian developers to talk about why it came to be. Why did they not consider Indonesia as one of the countries to launch Switch 2? So we asked them, and their reasoning has always been like, I guess it's involving, I guess to sum it up, you can read the feature on our website at kakuchopre.com, but generally it all boils down to, I guess, some political climate. It boils down to maybe the price. It boils down to maybe they did not recognize Indonesia as a big paying market. Don't forget, not playing, paying market.
Yeah.
So they had to focus on something like Singapore, which has the smallest number of people, gamers per capita and whatnot, but the highest spending power in all of the Southeast Asia region. Malaysia, Thailand, and the Philippines are like in between, back and forth. We got the appropriate amount of people in the country plus appropriate amount of people paying for the games. So selling a console in those countries would be like, I guess it works. Indonesia is probably because it has again more people are more inclined to play free-to-play games more in Indonesia compared to buying their own consoles and paying for them. With most of the complaining mostly attributed to people who are rich in I guess Indonesia, and that's like a minority of people who can parallel import these games anyway. In fact, one of the developers did say that it might be bad that you can't buy it in Indonesia, but you can always travel to Malaysia or Singapore, who's like, it's cheaper to travel down there and just buy the console and come back.
Right, yeah.
Well, that's pretty much the gist of it, per se.
Yeah, I don't really have anything to add to it other than it's just at this point, because I feel like, the devs probably have a lot more, better understanding of probably the landscape of probably why Nintendo came to this decision. Obviously, as well, we're not Indonesia, so we're not all that familiar with kind of the landscape of how it is over there at the moment. But it is just unfortunate because I think it's just if anybody knows anything about at least mobile games, for example, they understand how big of a market Indonesia is when it comes to just entertainment and media in general. Yes, they are. What was it? They have the smallest per capita gamers to, like, what was the ratio you mentioned just now?
For Indonesia?
Yeah, it was like they have the smallest.
There are more gamers as well. There are more gamers in that country, but the ones who spend are probably little. Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, they have just because of sheer population, they have an extremely high spending power, right? So it doesn't really, I guess from the outside looking in, it doesn't make the most sense. But there's, at the end of the day, Nintendo does a lot of things that doesn't make sense to us, and there must be a reason for why. Somebody must have justified it to them.
This is a company that made its own Discord, by the way.
Yeah, true.
They've done a lot of dinosaur moves back in the day, so to see them excluding arguably one of the bigger gaming per capita kind of countries with a growing gaming industry, mind you, thanks to Togi Productions and a lot of other companies like Sapporo.
Yeah.
And Mojiken,
yeah, okay, yeah.
I was gonna say emoji. But anyway, a lot of people in that space and whatnot making games and more passionate and big and rivaled. It boggles the mind at how they make decisions at Nintendo when you think about it. So yeah, there you have it. It's just tough. It's just crazy. Again, Nintendo, dinosaur moves and whatnot, but at the end of the day, they've been at the top of the game for a pretty big reason, because they do make all the games they can, and it's all exclusive to the console, and whenever they make a leap, companies would actually eventually listen and come down per se. So it's like 2 steps forward, 2 steps back sort of thing.
Yeah.
So it boggles the mind, but
yeah.
I mean, I'm probably just gonna buy the console, but I'm just gonna wait until it's like the appropriate regional price in Malaysia.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I'm probably not going to buy a parallel import version of it, because I've been in this for long. I bought a Wii, I bought a Wii U. Yes, unfortunately, I bought a Switch. I think half of these are all parallel. Either I bought it in the US or I parallel imported it, and I think I'm just done.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just gonna wait like everyone else to see how it goes.
Yeah.
I mean, we get a review unit, yeah, sure, but it's again.
Yeah.
This is how you say on probably being that maybe we are not so much on Nintendo's radar.
Yeah.
Think of things here and there, but who knows? Who knows? I mean, with our standing and all that, we will definitely try to get a free unit and whatnot for review and tell everyone about it, whether it's worth paying for it in Malaysia. I mean, after all, we did do the same thing for an Xbox and the PS5, so Xbox Series and the PS5. So
yeah,
who knows? Nintendo, if you're listening, just know that we're probably one of the best guys out there to sort out this, and whatnot. So let's go for it.
Yeah.
And with that, I think we can cap off our show. Thanks again for listening. And anything you want to say before we wrap it up? Maybe your thoughts about Nintendo Switch 2 as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, it's an announcement that everyone's been kind of waiting for. It's a much needed upgrade, especially. But as usual, I'm not surprised that there's a lot of, I wouldn't say backlash, but there's a lot of resistance to a lot of the announcements made by Nintendo, and that's unsurprising to me. So it is what it is. It's just another day in the gaming industry, really.
Yeah, for me, I guess the whole price hike issue and the fact that it's going to translate differently in Malaysia is the one concerning factor and point, and whether I can recommend people getting an upcoming console. But it is a much needed upgrade for the Switch 2. So if you already have a Switch, it is more or less the natural evolution and whatnot. I'd say like if any other console, if the games are good, just go ahead and buy it. If there are like 4 exclusives that you want to play on your Switch 2, go ahead and buy it. But again, as someone who wants to support local pricing and local distribution, I would suggest just, wait it out until July or August, September, just to get it off shelves here in Malaysia or Singapore or Thailand or Philippines when you're up for it. Yeah. And hopefully Nintendo can change its stance in, maybe releasing their console in like a big state, a big country like Indonesia.
Yeah.
I think that's just my way of thinking things, where Southeast Asia should not be excluded. I mean, PlayStation have always been very open about things. Xbox, unfortunately, they've been, just Singapore. And now with Nintendo, I guess you could say it's a step forward for Nintendo, considering that way back in the Wii days, distribution has been very monopolized and whatnot. There's this like one company that isn't, how do you say, they're not really doing their jobs properly and well, but they're just doing it barely as is. So I definitely do know that things have changed for the better. Now there are 2 distributors, and one of the distributors are actually really good at doing the jobs and doing the promotions and whatnot. So in terms of like promoting Nintendo, they're doing a great job. No fault to the distributors on our side here. My blame does lie with Nintendo for maybe you should try include Indonesia to the thick of things. And also sort out the pricing, because 80 US, I mean, of course, you have set a very dangerous precedent.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But regardless, I'm still gonna buy Mario Kart World. I'll eventually buy Metroid Prime 4 for Switch 2. I will buy a Switch 2. Hopefully they have a different color than black. I don't want a white or a blue-red or a Splatoon color lah, basically.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe in like 10 years they'll finally come out with like a subscription service where you can play these games for free. But like, with them being always so behind in the times, we may have to wait maybe 10 to 15 years for that to happen.